A lot of times we think we aren't productive because we lack motivation, but that is not the case. The problem is the way we experience productivity and having to work, having to do chores, because we don't enjoy these things. And a lot of times that stems from our childhood. If you want to be more productive, it's about figuring out how can I make these tasks more fun. In order to make them more fun, you first need to figure out why they aren't fun. And that can be things from your childhood. My parents hated cooking, so I just learned to hate cooking. But what is the actual problem? Maybe it's because you prepare food so late when you already feel like starving, and then it frustrates you even more. You want to get it done really fast and you don't enjoy the progress. And to change that is maybe you can turn on your favorite music, some calm music. At least for me that helped, because cooking in my household was always something very stressful. So I just grew up to hate cooking, but it doesn't have to be that way. You need to figure out why you don't like doing these things. And then the second step is figuring out how can I make this more enjoyable. I see this a lot with small content creators as well. A lot of times people just quit their YouTube channel because they're not growing. And the problem is why they don't continue doing it. It's because they don't enjoy making their videos. Maybe they put in too much effort into the video and then they see, okay, I don't get the results for the work that I put in. So now I just stop. That's the thing. When I met artists, the only reason they kept going even though they didn't make any money was because they enjoyed what they did. And there's this famous quote that says, if you do something that you really love, you never have to work a day in your life. And a lot of people, they want to achieve that, but it's work to get there. You need to be willing to reflect yourself, to understand why does it feel like I'm suffering or struggling doing these tasks. That's the thing, like if you enjoy something, if you love going to the city, scrolling on your phone, if you grab your phone as soon as you get a notification, you do these things because you enjoy them. So there's a difference between I need to do this, I'm supposed to be doing this, and I actually like doing this. You don't need to watch a TED Talk every morning to feel motivated to get up. If we learn something new, we are like kids that learn something for the first time. It takes some time. If you don't want to give up, what you need to do is figure out how can I make this fun? And the most important part here is it needs to be fun and enjoyable during. Because a lot of times, at least for me, when it comes to productivity, we try to make these lists and say, oh, I want to finish this. And after I finish this, I get rewarded. And that's a problem. You open Instagram because you instantly get rewarded as soon as you open it. And that's what you need to do with your tasks. As soon as you open your textbook, it needs to be rewarding. So how can I do this? For me, when it comes to studying, what helps me is I lay in my bed in a most cozy position that I don't want to get up anymore. And I just have my study papers around me and no phone or any kind of distraction is close to me. So the only time I get up is actually when I use the bathroom, when I have to get something new to drink. And you need to be able to create that environment for you as well. Because at least for me, studying has always been something very stressful because I always associate studying with teachers calling you out, having to speak in front of a class, having to do tests, like so many negative emotions that when I got home, I never wanted to study for school because it always reminded me of that. So I was always fleeing in the world of social media to distract myself from the actual problem. It just pushed back the problem and then the problem just got worse. And I don't want you to feel that way. So it's very important that you create a safe space to do the thing that you feel like is uncomfortable. Make it as enjoyable as possible. And this can be very hard. You might have to break it down like very small, but I think as humans, we are naturally curious about things. And I also feel like social media is abusing that because we always want to know, is there something new? And you can always refresh the page so your curiosity can always be triggered. And the same thing can apply to you learning a new skill. If you start reading, let's say 1 or 2 sentences of a book, you might want to know the next sentence. And then you turn into someone that enjoys reading, and in the beginning you hated it, but you need to start very small in order to make it enjoyable. One of my classmates recently told me that one of the most emotional triggers in senses is actually smell. And I never thought of this, but it makes so much sense. Like a certain smell can remind you of Christmas, and then you feel some kind of emotion attached to that smell, or going to your grandma's house and certain food smells, and it immediately triggers some kind of emotion. And the same thing can be used negatively and positively. So it's about finding these things that you enjoy, small things, and then you kind of mix it together. And I know this especially as a graphic designer and having to watch so many tutorials online and having to write down all the shortcuts. This was always so exhausting to me, but it's about making it enjoyable. And a lot of times you can do that. If you watch a whole tutorial about a really complicated thing, maybe you just watch the first minute, write down all the shortcuts. It's not necessarily about cutting it down, but about cutting it down even further. If you don't like doing it, it's because it's too complicated for you. It's too much new information, and we need to take baby steps in order to get anywhere. It needs to be enjoyable, or else you won't repeat the process. Even if the reward after is big. It's kind of like when you watch a TV show and they always end with a cliffhanger. That's how people get into binge watching. It's kind of like when you train a dog, you want to end with success. So the dog wants to repeat the process. The same thing applies to you, because motivation just helps you to get started, but it doesn't help you to continue. The only thing that helps you to continue is enjoyment. Having fun what you're doing, and no one has to tell you to do the thing. No one has to tell you to binge watch this TV show. No one has to tell you to grab your phone when a notification pops up. You just automatically do it because you feel a sense of enjoyment or reward doing these things. And you need to create that environment for you when you study, when you do work. Work and having fun are not two separate things. You can actually combine them. Just write down a list of things that you enjoy. Write down lists that you feel like you need to do, but you don't want to do them. And then kind of figure out how you can combine these two. And ChatGPT is your friend, so you can ask it if it finds a way that you can combine these things. It's more fun once you get started, once you get into the progress of actually doing things and not just passively watching motivational videos on YouTube, because they're not going to help you. They're not going to motivate you enough to keep doing the thing. You need a bigger motive to actually keep going. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you're going to stay tuned for the next one. Bye!